Russia is spreading conspiracy theories about Kate Middleton's health in an attempt to destabilise the UK and the royal family. Let's bring in former senior military intelligence officer Phillip Ingram. Good to have you on board as always. Phillip, do you put much store by this? Is this the sort of thing the Kremlin would get up to, putting out more and more of these wild theories about what's up with Kate?
Oh, 100%. They can see the reaction in the mainstream press across the UK and across the globe, and they're playing it. You know, they're quite happily doing that. We saw the Kremlin put out a notification that King Charles had died, and Kensington Palace had to turn around and say, no, he hasn't. But you know, it's all part of Russian tactics. We're in a year of 60 elections across the globe. It's all trying to find little things that will disrupt the mainstream media, disrupt the narrative that's coming out from our politicians, disrupt anything, and do as many of them as possible, to use the old sort of Chinese style of death of a thousand cuts.
I mean, this is a lot of people who are sort of know Russia and are Russia watchers, very much the playbook of Alexander Dugin and Vladislav Surkov. This creating disinformation, trying to destabilise societies. But it doesn't stop at the royal family, does it? They are plugging into so many different bubbles of activism, whether it's hugely augmenting groups such as BLM. They play both sides at the same time, anti-migrant protests and then pro-migrant protests. And essentially, it's to divide the West, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. What they're trying to do is create little fractures. And as soon as they find a little fracture, they'll put the proverbial knife in it and wiggle it using disinformation as much as they can to make that fracture bigger. And it's a classic tactic that the Russians use. They've got a doctrine called maskirovka, which is all about masking. It's all about trying to get people to think of things from an alternative view. And this, you know, sounds superficial, but actually what we'll find that they do in the run-up to the local elections, what they'll do in the run-up to the general election, what they'll do in the US elections, the EU elections, is try and put differing narratives out there. They'll pay for legitimate-looking advertising campaigns, or they'll back different people who won't check where the money's come from, just to create that division and to try and sow discord. They're doing it in Ireland as we speak.
Do you think, Phillip, last question really, I'm going to go out on a limb here, would the Russians, with Vlad and the guys, would they...
Vlad and the guys?
Would they... Vlad and the gang, the Kremlin gang, would they cross someone's palms with silver to say, if you can get us Kate's medical records, we'll pay you handsomely? Because if they got the truth and they got the medical records, they could really play havoc, right?
Oh, 100% they'll be doing that. They'll be carrying out every old-fashioned bit of espionage technique to get as much information as they can. And they build that information up into different banks of data so that they can then choose how they're going to launch their campaigns and use that in a way that'll cause maximum disruption. Wouldn't surprise me at all if maybe it could be the Russians, it could be the Chinese, it could be the North Koreans, it could be the Iranians or other hostile nations that are behind financing, trying to get hold of the medical records. The good thing is that the hospital has clearly identified that and has started to carry out an investigation before we've got any leaks. If that information had been compromised, it would be out through the United States or some other press outlet immediately. So I think the hospital has done good in this case.
Yeah, so it could be the Russians, it could be the Iranians, it could be the Chinese, or worse than all of them, it could be the National Enquirer. And then we're really in trouble. Phillip, great to talk to you as always. Thank you so much.